strengthen each section. We'll discuss some common mistakes, misconceptions, and then we'll talk about how to make your resume ATS friendly. And then we'll have Q&A. So the presentation should take about 20 to 30 minutes. And then after that, you guys can ask any questions, any specific questions you have, whether it's about resume building, whether it's about anything else. This is the career services team is over here. My name is Mariam, and the team will introduce themselves as they speak. So we're happy to answer any questions you have. It would be good to know what the audience is like. How about a show of hands for students who are starting to think about a resume? So you haven't made a draft yet, but you're going to start making one. Yeah? Okay, good to know. And how many students have made a draft, but it hasn't been reviewed by anybody? Like you've made a draft and you've made a draft, but it hasn't been like finalized. Okay, great. I think that's a good number as well. And how many students have made a draft that's been reviewed by CSO? Cool. And how many students have not had it reviewed by CSO, but have had it reviewed by other people? So that could be faculty, it could be a senior, it could be a peer tutor. Great. I think that's a good number. It's good to see that everybody's thinking about it. I think the session caters to everybody. So we'll be covering general basics, and then for every basic thing, we'll also be giving you a more detailed overview. And then in the future sessions, we'll have a session on academic resume building. So if you're wanting to enter, if you're wanting to go for grad school, if you're wanting to enter academia, we'll also have a session on advanced resume tips. So that'll be a bit more interactive, sort of like a boot camp, where we'll get into like specific samples, think about phrasing, and it'll be just more detailed tips. And then other sessions to look out for that's really important considering we're halfway through the academic year. So whether you're about to graduate, whether you're thinking about internships, you should attend these as well. Networking tips, job search strategies, how to secure a job after graduation is something relevant to everybody because it'll cover how do you make the most of your academic years to be a strong candidate by the time that you graduate. And then we'll also have a session on how to use AI for your career development journey. So stay tuned, guys. Please stick it out throughout. There's going to be a lot of information, but it's all going to be really useful. And then you can ask questions at the end. And the questions are good for other people as well to get a sense of what are students thinking. So I think try to stay tuned with us. And let's start.
Hi, everyone. Hi, this is Yusra Beg. And so I'm going to tell you about what are the three types of formats. Number one is a CV, curriculum vitae, which includes every work you have done. And then we have a resume, professional resume for job applications. And then we have academic resume for grad school or academia. Let's go into the detail. Next slide, please. Okay, so CVs are always extensive. It includes a full extent of your academic credentials and your professional experience all together. So it's usually it exceeds from a one pager, maybe it could be 2-pager or 3-pager, but initially it could be 2-pager for you since you all are students. And then resumes, the difference between CVs and resumes is the resumes are concise. It only includes the skills and qualifications related to the position you want. So you basically tailor your resume according to the position where you're applying. Next slide, please. Okay, so why is a well-crafted resume needed? A very good question. It is, guys, it's the first impression about you. It's there's a complete stranger in front of you who doesn't know anything about you. So your resume will tell everything about you to that complete stranger. It's going to highlight the relevant facts. Whatever you've mentioned in your resume, they should be highlighted. The recruiter should, it should be like, he'll only have 30 seconds to go through your resume, and he should know everything you have done and everything you're capable of doing. A crafted resume, it becomes a basis for the interviewer to justify shortlisting you for hiring process. As I just said, the recruiter only needs 30 seconds. He'll go through your resume and he should know that, yes, this is the person, and positions you in the mind of the employer. So basically, a good resume will create a strong impression on the recruiters. The purpose of a good resume is that it's your marketing tool. It's going to market you. It will showcase your skills, your experiences, and value to the employers. So it helps you stand out amongst all the candidates, and it will help you land a good opportunity. So an HR department of major companies receive thousands of resumes per month. Some of them receive 200 resumes per available position, which means that they only have 30 seconds to make a strong, you only have 30 seconds to make a strong impression, because they only have 30 seconds to decide who are they going to shortlist. Next. Yes.
Again,
Over to
guys, this is
Mariam.
Aisha Majid. So moving forwards, how can we make our resume stand out within those 30 seconds? So for that, we need to understand that the resume goes through two different segregation processes. The first one is the first shortlisting, which is usually done by an ATS system or or a new HR rep. So what they are looking for in a resume in those 60 seconds is the main basics structure of the resume. So for that, we need to ensure our resume is formally formatted, it's skimmable so that they can read it within a minute or within a class to have an idea of what your skills are, what your education level is, and etc. And most importantly, it needs to be tailored according to the job position, internship, or you're applying to, and it needs to be ATS friendly as well, because nowadays many companies are using ATS trackers to for the first level screening. Now moving to the second level of screening, that is what these are the two main points that you need to keep in mind for your resume to survive the second shortlisting phase. The first one is the right foregrounding, that is that your resume lays the foundation in the right order in what your skill set is and what and how you link your skill set to the job description or the job role that the recruiter has provided to you. And most of all, it is easy for a third party to see the fit that you think in your mind is between you and the job posting. Moving forward, so preparation. How can you prepare your resume for that particular job posting? The most important thing for that is use multiple iterations and reviews. So just don't stick to the first draft of the resume you have made. Make multiple drafts. Answer your question yourself that, okay, does this draft look better? Does this draft look better? Is my bolding and italics that I've used, is it accurate? The fonts phrase I have used, is it readable? Is it good for the for the job posting? Depending on the company you have, for that you can either share your resume with your friends, family members, or you can come to the CSO career peer tutors or CSO counselors like me and Yusra, Mariam, for even for that matter, to know that whether your resume looks good, it's skimmable, or it's under the presumption, or it will that the HR won't like it. For academic resumes, you can also go to your faculty members. Now, moving forward, how you can do that, Mariam is going to explain that to you. Oh,
Sorry, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So some things not to do in your resume is that you need to make sure you don't need to mention anything that's unnecessary. Your resume should only have value-added information that the recruiter can use to shortlist candidates. So they don't need to know your birth date. They don't need to see your photo. They don't need to know your marital status. They don't need to know detailed address because they're not going to mail anything to you. You shouldn't mislead the employer. A lot of students ask that I got this GPA, but can I give this GPA? Or they say I haven't had this like I've had to exaggerate some of my experiences because this particular experience I had wasn't strong, and I don't think I'm going to be a good candidate. Don't lie, because if you're caught, that's going to have massive repercussions. Professionally, it's just really bad. So avoid doing that. Some people include really generic content, whether it's throughout the resume, whether it's in the summary statement. That's also not helpful. I'm saying this as somebody, I think in the past 6 years, we've done like, I feel about 3-4 hiring cycles on an annual basis. Just 2-3 weeks back, I was reviewing 210 resumes. There's just no time to read generic, unnecessary information. So avoid doing that. I'll give you tips after this on how to write a focused, value-added resume. Don't go over 2 pages unless the company or the graduate program has specified that if it has said that you can submit a CV, then you can go over 2 pages. But if they've asked for a resume, and a lot of times they specify that they want 1 page, stick to 1 page. People with 5 years of experience can make a 1 page resume. So you guys as fresh graduates, you can definitely do that. It's all about phrasing. It's about formatting. So you can meet with us and we can help you think through how to go about that. A lot of people, even like people very experienced, end up copy pasting the JD or writing really detailed duties. They don't need to know that. First of all, obviously it has to be, you only include information that's relevant to the job that you're applying to. So you don't have to list everything that you've done. But you should also try to focus on achievements. A lot of people just write, I don't know, I did this particular event. But if you're not adding achievements, you're not giving depth to that statement. It's still good to write the duty that you did, but if adding achievements helps make your resume stand out. Avoid using weak action words, action verbs, weak language. Use powerful, impactful, professional phrasing, and just stay very focused on the job description, because again, 30 seconds per resume, you're going through so many different types of profiles. If something doesn't immediately hit as a potential match, then you're not going to get shortlisted. That's unfortunately even well-meaning HR managers. I really want to hire a great person, but there's just no time. 30 seconds is not an exaggeration. 30 to 40 seconds is literally how much time people have. If they're doing it manually, if they're doing it through a platform, then the lack of focus automatically it puts you at a massive disadvantage. So, you have to be really picky. And I know it's really like frustrating when you've done really amazing things to remove certain things. But you're removing certain things so that you can emphasize really important things. So you have to be really critical about the information that you share. Be mindful. Don't think about yourself. Think about the reader. They don't owe you anything. They're just a random third party who wants to hire for a position. So in their mind, it's like, who's going to fit this JD the best? So they don't need to know everything that you've done. They need to know everything that you've done that is relevant to the role that you're applying for. So now we're going to go into some section-specific tips. These are the main sections that every resume should have. And I'll just tell you how to go about each one of them. So the title section is basically the header. So over there, you can add a location. But again, the resume should only have information that's value added. So there's no reason to add a location if, for example, the reasons you would add a location is if you want to say that, if, for example, I add Lahore, Pakistan, that means I'm either looking for roles in Lahore, or I'm looking for roles outside of Lahore, but I want to signal to the recruiter that I may have to relocate. So as a hiring manager, if I see the location and it's not in the location I'm at, I'm going to automatically assess that will this person be able to relocate from this city to this city with the salary bracket that I have. This is very practically that's what the information is used for. So adding a location is important. If for you the salary and the relocation benefits are important, or for you you're not willing to apply or move out of the location that you specified. But if you are not limited by a location, then don't add it. There's no reason. It takes up extra space. You could use that one line to add something really amazing afterwards. Then you should add a primary professional email. That's an email that's active. Your mobile number, LinkedIn profile, any portfolios, depends on, I think, different fields. If you're applying for digital marketing, or if you're applying for technical fields, sometimes a portfolio is added. But these are the main things. These three things are the main things that go under your name. These two are optional depending on the circumstance. Then your education. So for your LUMS degree, or for your undergraduate and your master's or your PhD degree, depending on whichever level you're at, you mention the university name first, then you mention the degree name, then you mention the GPA if it's worth mentioning or relevant. So 3.0 and above is a good GPA. That's something you can mention. GPA is also, I mean, it's good to add if you have a high GPA. It's especially relevant for grad study resumes, so maybe not as much for professional resume. But if you have a good GPA, it's good to just put it out there. But the most important thing is relevant courses. Cannot emphasize
I have a question.
how important. Mm-hmm. Yes, sorry.
What if someone? This is me, Hamza. Hamza Shil speaking. What if a person have a 3.0 plus CGPA? You should write it
Yeah,
down
so you
or
can.
on a resume. Or
I mean, it depends. Like, I think if you're applying for a role that's research intensive, or if you're applying for a role where you feel like a high GPA will put you at an advantage, then it's worth mentioning. But I think professionally speaking, as somebody who's reviewed a lot of resumes, I don't think that the GPA is that critical. I would only put it out there if you've got like, I mean, we've written 3.0 plus because that's usually the bar. But if you've got like a 3.6 plus GPA, for example, you're on the Dean's honor list, that's something that adds value. Otherwise, there's not much I can do with this information. Is if I'm hiring for a sales role, for example, your GPA doesn't really do much for me. It's the courses that matter more. So I can probably interpret your GPA more if you've added courses, and I can see you've taken like sales relevant courses, you've got a high GPA, so you must have done well in them, then the GPA is worth mentioning. Does that make sense?
sounds good.
Yeah. Relevant courses will get adjusted depending on the job you're applying to. Please customize them. You're taking, the LUMS degree, one of the most sort of the really cool things. I graduated from LUMS, by the way. I was an econ major. And I think the beauty, I graduated from Gurmani. So we had like, I mean, I don't know, other degrees I feel sometimes are a little bit, maybe the flexibility is less, but everybody has to take an out group. Everybody has the opportunity to take free electives. You have the opportunity to take up a minor. Now I feel the degrees I feel, anyways, you can discuss with your academic advisors, but this impacts your course selection. So if you are in your, I guess even if you're in your senior year, choose courses that you feel will help you develop the skills that you want in order to enter whatever career you're wanting to enter, because then you get to add it over here. So people have really industry relevant, and even if it's not industry relevant, if you're trying to show you have an understanding about a certain subject that's relevant to the JD or relevant to the organization, then you should add it, because otherwise reading a degree name, reading that somebody has done a management science degree, is like fine, but if you have like 40 resumes from people who have all got a management related background, the people who have a stronger, people who mention, like, if you mention courses that were outside of your management degree, for example, that shows you have a more holistic profile. If you're confused about what courses to add, meet with us. We can help you think through what's relevant for the JD. If it's not easy to, I mean, we have career guides for different fields, and those career guides mention the courses that are relevant for the courses that are useful to have, good to have, mandatory for different fields. We can walk you through those, and we can help you choose what courses are relevant. These are things that give you an edge in the market. The LUMS brand gives you an edge as well, but the relevant courses now, considering how competition has increased, relevant courses is going to give you a bigger edge. You can add other education if you want, but I think secondary school, especially after you graduate, is not really relevant. If I'm hiring for a, I don't know, engineering position, knowing that you got, like, you did your I don't know, FSC or whatever under secondary school degree, A levels in whatever subjects, doesn't really help me because you graduated from university now, so your secondary school courses are not as relevant. It's okay to mention if, for example, the secondary school courses you've taken, you want to signal you have a background in STEM or in, I don't know, econ or whatever, then you can mention it, but think critically before adding it, because that's adding 3 rows in your resume that could go for something else. It's okay to mention in your first year to junior year, but senior and super senior year, your undergraduate degree becomes more important. If you have a master's degree, you can mention you should mention it in the same way as this format. Right. So the biggest chunk of your resume will be your experiences. Obviously, it goes in reverse chronological order with the latest experience at the top. Use strong action words. Meet with us. We can brainstorm. We've got a bank of action words we're developing a resume workbook, so we'll be sharing that soon, hopefully in the next month. That'll also help you think through what's a impactful way to frame the experiences that I have. Focus on achievements where possible. Naturally, everything can't always be quantified, or you may not be able to create a powerful outcome or achievement out of it, but where possible, do this. And there's so many cases in counseling where we're meeting with a student, and after investigation, we find out they've done so many really fantastic things that they didn't think were worth mentioning in the resume. So really brainstorm your experiences. And I always encourage writing in a diary format almost. Brainstorm everything you've done in a role. And then from that, pick and choose what's relevant to add for particular JDs. So again, there's different exercises for how to map out your experiences, and we can figure out how to use the right phrasing, the right framing in order to make it stand out to somebody who's going through hundreds of resumes. Always use industry and role relevant jargon, extract it directly from the JD. If it is written stakeholder management, say stakeholder management. If they've mentioned specific tools, if they say design social media campaigns, use that exact phrasing, because that reduces the cognitive load of the recruiter. It makes it easier to skim. Otherwise, they have to decode your resume, which nobody has time for. If they have to put effort in reading your resume, if you're lucky, they may put that effort, but chances are they might not make that connection. So you have to try to make it as easy as possible for them. Don't say, I know a lot of students who've written things like, I don't know, in terms of social media, it could be something like handle social media pages for this organization. And that's like, I mean, that's fine, but then you investigate and you find out that they designed this whole, I don't know, a particular marketing campaign for Breast Cancer Awareness Week. They handle the Instagram, LinkedIn, and Facebook of an organization. So many different, like all of these buzzwords, which is directly mentioned in the JD that they're applying for. It would just like, I mean, that sounds so much more powerful than just mentioning these things, makes it sound so much more powerful than just saying that you handle the social media of an organization. So just like really, really dissect the JD, dissect your experiences, make sure that they match. With all of that said, you have to do all of this and make sure that you keep it concise. And it's not as hard as it may seem. It takes a couple of iterations, but once you get the hang of it, it becomes easier. And so basically you'll have like a master resume, which will have everything that you've got, all of your experiences. That could be like as detailed as you want it to be. That could be 2 to 3 pages if you want it to be. From that master resume, you should design, if you're thinking about applying to 2 to 3 different functional roles or sectors. If you're thinking, for example, I want to apply for research, I want to apply in academia, I want to apply in the development sector, then each of these sectors have different jargon, different priorities in terms of skill portfolios. So you should be making general drafts for each of these from your master resume that are 1 page. Then you're going to do further customization for every JD that you're applying to. That's how you manage to concisely communicate key experiences in 2 to 3 bullets, maximum 4. More than 4 becomes hard for the reader. Think about it yourself, that if you're reading I don't know if you have a textbook reading, if there's like 20 bullets, it's so much harder to keep track of all of that content. Even if you have 10 bullets, it's harder to keep track of that content if you're skimming through it. But if it's 3 bullets, you could probably like figure out, okay, these are the 2, 3 things that they mentioned. Every bullet that you have every bullet that you mention should have a unique skill. That also makes it easier for the reader to skim. A lot of times students, not even just students, alumni, professionals, they write like 2-3 bullets that cover essentially project management. And then they have like 10 bullets in total, and it's just so hard for the reader to sort of digest that information. So if you have each bullet signaling a particular skill, that makes it easier for me to see, okay, so overall they have experience in project management, event management, and marketing. Again, sounds complicated. It's really not. Like we can work with you. We can figure out how to frame things, and once you crack it for your master resume, you'll be able to take it forward for however many jobs you apply to in the future. So a lot of students ask about the STAR method. I thought we could cover a little bit about that, and then I'll tell you the basic principles of why you would use it. How many of you guys know what the STAR method is? I'm not going to ask you to explain it. You can just raise your hand if you're familiar with it. Yeah? Okay, good. I promised I wouldn't ask, so I'm not gonna. If somebody wants to volunteer, you can, but I won't pressure anyone. Speak now or forever hold your peace. Okay. So the STAR method is basically you're organizing your experiences around these 4 key principles, which is the situation that explaining some context of the situation, the task, giving an action, whatever action you did, and the result of your activities. Basically, the STAR method says that every bullet that you describe in your resume should cover these 4 elements. So we're going to work through it with this example. The example is organized. This could be a bullet in extracurricular activities. It could be a bullet in experiences, but organize a bake sale to raise funds for a charity. I'm going to try to make it a little bit interactive. Can anyone tell me what are ways in which we could enhance this sentence?
You could maybe contextualize it and explain your particular role, make it more specific, and then list out the actions you took and finally the result. Try to quantify it, basically.
Yes, exactly. And how you described was basically going through these 2-3 elements. So for example, a situation is explaining the context. Because for a third-party reader, they don't know what your situation is, what your JD was. So you have to give some information about the situation. So in this particular example, it could be led a fundraising event for the university charity club. STAR method is a way of brainstorming. So all of what I'm about to go through is just ways of dissecting this past experience, this particular experience. So one way of like dissecting it is that you led a fundraising activity that's describing the situation. Then you focus on the task, like what was your responsibility in this activity. It could be, you can mention, if you had a specific role, you mention that specific role. If you had multiple roles, if you were leading the whole initiative, you mention specific things that are relevant for the JD. So in this particular case, it could have been about, community engagement. It could have been about marketing. It could have been just general event management. So tasked with increasing event attendance and donation. That's the responsibility. Action is what you did, what steps you took to achieve whatever the responsibility was. So develop a social media campaign and collaborate with local businesses for sponsorships. And then finally, the result, what was the outcome, quantify it where possible. And in this case, it could be increased donations by X percentage and attracted X number of attendees. All of this is just brainstorming how to give more depth to that particular experience. A way of reframing that content could be organize a charity event, designing a marketing strategy that increased attendance by 150% and raised $5,000, surpassing the fundraising goal by 20%. So this is communicated that you have skills in event management, strategy development, marketing. You're able to exceed the targets that are set by the organization. You're able to make some impact. Obviously, they're not going to walk away with, yeah, this person made 150% increase in 5,000. These are numbers that are just supposed to attract attention. They're not going to remember the specific numbers, but the framing of it makes it sound like this person did something really phenomenal. Before I go to extracurriculars, I think I just want to say STAR method. I don't want you guys to get overwhelmed. I've personally never used this specific method. The point is, this is one of many methods of just conceptualizing your experiences. So you should never just start your resume with like the exact sentence that you're going to use. You should brainstorm, and then you should, through multiple iterations, reach the final verdict, which is this. So for example, this is not something you could have come up with from the beginning. I couldn't come up with this from the beginning. But through these activities, you're able to brainstorm, think through everything that you did, and then design a powerful statement. The principle of the STAR method or other techniques is basically you're trying to demonstrate skills. You're trying to demonstrate that you're able to make an impact in different domains. You're trying to demonstrate that you have, I don't know, you've used technical tools. You're trying to demonstrate that you have experience in specific contexts. So you may not be able to include everything listed here. So this is just like a unique scenario. You don't have to get scared if you haven't got experiences like this. But it's just giving you an idea that these are the kind of details that you should be thinking about. So don't get intimidated by the jargon. Okay. So now for your extracurricular experiences, I'm going to pause. I know everybody knows what extracurricular experiences are. It's basically things that you've done outside of your academic degree. It could be societies, it could be volunteership. Some people include leadership experiences or initiatives that they took on a personal level. It's up to you. It depends on, I mean, extracurriculars and projects are often overlapping. So depending on your portfolio, we can help you think through what should be included in in extracurriculars versus projects versus professional experiences. So I feel, based on the hundreds of students that have counseled so far, I feel that one of the biggest, like, I don't know, like you guys do such fun stuff in societies. I've had people who've written in their resume, like they've gone in detail about experiences, and then in the extracurricular section, they mention, I don't know, assistant director of X society, and that's it. No description, no nothing. And I'm like, you were an assistant director. You were like, I don't know, treasury, whatever the positions are. Or even if you're not in a leadership position, even as a volunteer, even as a member of an society, there's so many interesting things that people are doing. And if you're not doing it, you should start doing it, because societies, as much as they are fun, they're great for great opportunities for just building skills, getting exposure. There's a whole like method to like making the most out of your extracurricular activities, which could be like a whole other workshop. So I'm not going to get into it. But basically, there's like a range of things that you might be doing that you could start doing. If you're not in a leadership position, you can always take initiatives. If you are in a leadership position, you have the privilege of saying, I was a assistant director for this many students in a society. There's like so much that you can mention. Go into that detail. As a fresh graduate, organizations, graduate programs know that you haven't had like killer experience, professional experience. A lot of people graduate with maybe like a couple of internships. Often your extracurricular activities are much more powerful, or at least at the same level. Or I mean, not all in all cases. Some people like don't get the opportunity to engage in these kind of activities. That's fine. Then you don't have to go into detail. But if you have, then advertise it. It's such a disservice to the effort that you're putting in your degree if you don't go into detail about these things. Another aspect of resume, which is often not taken advantage of fully, is the project section. So one of the biggest things are your academic projects. That's your final exam submissions, final essays, assignments. If you're taking an SProj, independent study, DRP, all of these things, they're just so powerful to add, even if you're not applying for grad school. There's also other projects that students do. Sometimes you take an initiative yourself to solve a particular problem. You set up a program, you design a program yourself, whatever. There's a range of leadership activities that you could be engaging in. That's on a case-to-case basis, so I'm not going to go into detail about that. But nobody can graduate from LUMS without doing an academic project. And there's so many amazing ways of framing these projects. You can think about them as professional experiences, because that's essentially what they are. For every project that you do, you're given a prompt by the faculty. There's either a problem you have to solve, or there's a question that's being asked that you have to answer through your project. So this is again another technique of just thinking through how to describe your projects in your resume, frame the project as a professional scenario, which it usually is. These are all random examples. I won't go into detail about them, but you might have been tasked with, I don't know, I've forgotten, like you could have been given a case study. You could have been told that you're studying environmental science, and you're told that within write a literature review about renewable energy best practices. I don't know, but you're always given some problem. And if you're not given a problem, if you're given like, okay, you have to do a final submission, which is like some essay on any of the readings that we've done, then you design a problem, right? You say, this is the topic that I'm going to choose. That's your professional scenario. So simulated a supply chain optimization problem using advanced analytics. After you figured out your problem statement or the scenario that you're addressing through your project, you focus on your skills. There's so many technical skills you use in your projects. Again, if you're not using them, if you're taking your projects easy, which I understand, I understand it's tempting considering how crazy academics and societies and everything is. But like if you put a little bit of extra effort in at least a couple of your projects during your academic journey, find extensive data sets, try to use different tools, try to find a topic that's market relevant, then you get to use it as you get to talk about it the way that you would talk about your professional experiences. Skills and then tools, technical tools. If you're not sure about, by the way, the skills and the tools that you're using, talk with the faculty. They can help you understand how to really dissect the project and the work that you've done. And then quantify where possible. If you can't quantify, mention the outcome. You might have done a meta-analysis. You might have developed policy recommendations. You might have developed recommendations for a particular organization. That's an outcome. So these are all like interesting ways to that demonstrate you have a skill, that you're able to take a problem and develop a solution for it, that demonstrate that you have familiarity with specific tools. These help beef up resumes so much better, and again, make you stand out compared to other fresh graduates who may not have had the privilege of doing assignments where they have that much freedom to innovate and design. Skills and interests is usually at the end of the resume. It's almost like a footer. You mentioned your technical skills, your soft skills, professional skills, languages if you have any. Again, we can help you think through what skills are worth mentioning. The biggest thing is not to repeat anything you've mentioned. If you've already mentioned in your resume that you have event management experience, repeating it in the skills section is just, you can if you're trying to fill up space, but often you have a bunch of other skills that the market is wanting, that the JD is wanting. And you can use this space to mention that you may not have been able to mention through the experiences because you had to nitpick and delete certain things. Okay, so just do that. There's a way of like looking through, doing a LinkedIn analysis to identify what are the industry relevant skills, not just for the JD that you're applying to, but generally for roles in this industry or for this particular role in any industry. And we can help you with figuring out how to do that. There's a process, and that'll also help you beef up your resume and again, make it more ATS friendly. Last thing I thought I'd mention again is the summary statement at the top. Many students write very generic stuff about want to collaborate in a team, want to be part of a change. Not really adding value. It's just adding extra things to read from the reader's perspective. It also makes it look like you're trying to fill up space, which looks unprofessional. Only add it if you're trying to clarify anything, clarify your expertise. If you're transitioning from another field and you feel your resume might get discounted because you haven't got direct experience in a particular sector, but you want to tell the reader that I can do what you're wanting me to do, you can use a space for that. In extreme circumstances, if you have nothing else to add in your resume, it can be used to fill up space, but even then there's a way to do it professionally. So meet with us and we can think about how to write a really nice narrative. And if your resume is more than one page, which it shouldn't be, but if you have like 6-7 years of experience, then it can be a way of summarizing your experiences for the reader. So usually then it's framed as, I have X years of experience in XYZ sectors and XYZ roles. I've specialized in these particular skills and I'm looking for roles in this particular sector. avoid generic content. It's going to be used against you. So it's better to, there are ways of framing content in a powerful way. Other optional sections are these. Depending on your portfolio or your experiences, we can help you think through whether to include these or not. It's on a case by case basis. It depends on the role that you're applying to. Shiza?
Yeah, am I audible?
Yeah.
Okay. Hi guys, I'm Shaza. For those who are not aware, I have recently joined the CSO and I'll be walking you guys through on how to tailor your resume for different roles and obviously some other tips. So starting off with tailoring your resume, as you all may have gauged so far, that a resume is not a one size fits all kind of a document. And in order for you to stand out for the multiple roles that you're applying for, you will have to make small, however small yet impactful and powerful tweaks every time you apply for a different job. This obviously implies that the roles you're applying for might be remotely related. They don't have to be completely similar, but of course, there are always minor differences, especially when you're just starting out. So it's always helpful to look at the job description, see whether there are some changes that need to be made in your resume or not. So starting off, obviously, the first step is to use keywords from the job description. And way before that, you need to actually read the job description and actually go over it very comprehensively. And I know a lot of you, not just you guys, a lot of people often miss or just skip out on reading job descriptions. They just see the job's title and think, okay, we'll apply for this, and then sometimes they don't end up getting selected even for an interview. So it's always helpful to go over the job description. Um, there are obviously always a set of keywords that are associated with each role. So, for example, if let's say you're applying for a content marketer's role, there are going to be terms like research, copywriting, storytelling, SEO, etc. Now, these are the keywords that your recruiter or interviewer would actually want to see on your resume. This obviously doesn't imply that you end up blatantly lying about your skills and experiences, things that you don't have under your belt, but it's always good to scan the job description in advance and see what is the recruiter possibly looking for and whether or not I have that in my resume or not. Next up, focus on your transferable skills. For those who are not aware, transferable skills are, as the name suggests, these are skills and abilities, qualities that can literally be transferred or applied across different jobs, industries, or roles. So, for example, and most of the times, transferable skills applies to soft skills. For example, we have teamwork, problem solving, communication, leadership, etc. Now, these are very valuable skills to have, whether you're working in marketing, whether you're planning on going towards the finance sector, or even in STEM roles like engineering or something. So these are the skills that you develop, as Mariam previously mentioned. These are the skills that you develop through experiences like apprenticeships, internships, volunteer work that you do at uni, sometimes academic projects as well, and of course, a bunch of other extracurriculars that you guys are involved on campus. Now, these are the skills that will show the employer that you quite literally have what they're looking for in a candidate, and also the level of adaptability that you have in order for you to that's required for you to succeed, or sort of work in different environments and get accustomed to them. So, for example, if let's suppose you were responsible for handling marketing for a uni event, and let's say you want to apply for a business analyst position. Now, as somebody who was handling marketing, you may have been involved in project management of some sort or handling data, right? Now, those are the skills that are usually required and could help you in landing a business analyst job. So even if those weren't your primary tasks, but you were involved in some sort of project management or analysis or any sort of data management, that would really help putting that on your resume. Finally, customizing the skills section. Try to when you're going over the job description, you can obviously get an idea of the specific technical skills that the job is looking for, and the soft skills are the generic ones. So it's really important for you to be very specific about those skills as well. So, for example, rather than just stating that you are good at communication, try to be specific about it. If the job requires a lot of public speaking, dealing with lots of clients and stakeholder management, maybe adding words like client negotiation, public speaking, that might help. Or if the job involves, let's say, written communication, so maybe research and writing skills or stuff like that could really help scrutinize your skill set. And of course, if the job is technical, it requires technical proficiencies, do mention those. And this is pretty much, all that is all that is important when you're trying to tailor your resume for a specific role. It may seem like a lot in the start when you go over a JD, but once you start scrutinizing each section of the JD and of course of your master resume, you will come to realize that it's quite easy to just pick a term or some skill from one section and add it to the resume that you're drafting for a job. Can we go to the next slide? Okay, make it ATS friendly. How many of you are aware of what ATS is? Nobody has raised their hands, so I'm assuming no one is aware. So ATS is an acronym which stands for Applicant Tracking System. So that's quite literally a software that screens your resume before it even reaches a recruiter. So you basically have to impress a machine way before you have to impress a human being, whether it's in an interview or whether they're, looking over your resume. And most companies use this software because, as previously mentioned in the presentation, companies get thousands of resumes. It's not humanly possible for them to go through each one of those. So they get those resumes, put them in the ATS, and the resumes, the ones which are obviously most aligned with the job description and the role, those are the ones that obviously get selected for the next round of the recruitment process. And in order for you to actually pass that first step of screening, there are obviously a few steps that you need to keep in mind. First of all, go with the standard font and design. I know there are a lot of fancy tools and templates out there. There are websites like Canva and a bunch of other places that, make you help you make a very aesthetically pleasing resume. But trust me, recruiter is not interested in looking at those really graphically and aesthetically pleasing resumes. What they're more interested in is the readability of your resume. So rather than, wasting the space and your time in adding graphics and text boxes or images that are not really adding any value to the resume, try to just use that space for adding concrete information about your skills, about your experiences. Secondly, match the keywords from the job description. I feel like this goes without saying. Um, this is very crucial in order for you to pass the first screening. So, as I've mentioned before, there are keywords that are specific to each and every job. The ATS software is going to be looking for those keywords within your resume. So, that's again very important for you to keep in mind. Thirdly, keep your section heading simple. There is no need to add creative alternatives. A while back, I was reading someone's resume, and rather than having one section for experiences, they had three sections: before graduation, during graduation, and after graduation. And it was such a mismatched structure of that for that, for just like mentioning the experiences that you've had so far. So instead of, getting way too creative with just mentioning your experiences, just simply add a heading like work experience or experience. So that it will not only make it easy for the recruiter to see what you've done, but it obviously also takes up less effort and will allow you to put your information in a one or two page format. Fourth, submit it in the right format. Please always read the job postings very carefully. They've always mentioned which format they prefer for you to submit a resume in. Usually they ask for a PDF. Sometimes they might ask for a Word document as well, but don't try to go for any other fancy format or any other, type of formatting that you feel like would add some sort of an oomph factor to your resume. Trust me, it won't. Just stick with whatever they're asking for. And finally, avoid fancy design elements. Remember, your resume is for, it's not just for a human being, it's for the machine as well. So try not to complicate it. Try not to complicate that first screening process by adding anything unnecessary. Yeah, can we move to the next slide? Okay, moving on to common mistakes to avoid. Most of these are iterations of what we've discussed so far, but I'll still go over it. First of all, typing errors and grammatical errors. Trust me, it does not give a good impression at all. When you've made a very minor spelling error or a grammatical error, which could have otherwise been avoided if you had just gone through a round of revision or proofreading. So that is something to keep in mind. If you're not that confident in your grammatical skills, there's so many software and AI tools out there like Grammarly and Quillbot where you can just, see if your grammar is correct or not, or if the spelling, if there are any spelling mistakes or not. Secondly, avoid passive language. So for those who don't know, passive language shifts the focus from you. Shifts the focus. Yeah, it shifts the focus from you to the job or action that is being done without really emphasizing what you have had to contribute in it. When we use active language, which is obviously the opposite of passive language, that is going to help bring back the shift on you. Okay. The important person, who actually did the task at hand. So, for example, if you have written something like tasks included managing projects, it would be much better to say managed projects that resulted in XYZ percentage of efficiency or something like that. And that is shifting the focus on something, shifting the focus on you, that you did this thing, you managed the projects, and you ultimately brought it to that conclusion that you're trying to, show through that resume. Thirdly, skip overly fancy formatting. Again, please go for a very clean professional layout. If you have seen the resume template that we often share with students, it's a very simple format. So try to stick with that. Yeah. Lastly, try to be honest in your resume. I feel like this goes without saying. There is no point in exaggerating or fabricating something, especially in terms of your skills and experiences. As much as it helps in explaining, elaborating what you've done, don't blatantly lie about something that you've done, some achievement, responsibility, especially if you're trying to quantify your achievements. A lot of jobs, when you're applying for jobs, a lot of recruiters ask for references. They ask for, sometimes they might not ask you for a reference, but they might contact your previous employers or the people that you've worked with and get, feedback on you. So it's always better to stick with stuff that you've actually done. And obviously, if you're quantifying something, try not to give very unrealistic figures because, again, once you get to the interview stage, they will eventually ask about that. So try not to lie about anything. Next slide. Review and finalize. So now that your resume is tailored, it has become ATS friendly. What's one of the final things that you should be doing? Always do a self check. Once you're done crafting the resume, go back to the job description, see what skills and requirements are listed in it. Is there any thing that you may have missed out? Maybe there is something that you weren't very clear on before, and now you want to change the phrasing or something like that. Secondly, get a peer or advisor review. You can obviously always come to the career services office and get your resume reviewed. It always helps to get a fresh pair of eyes review or scan the resume, because sometimes what happens is that you may have gone through the document multiple times and still not pointed out the mistakes that someone else may point out in the first setting. So it's always best to get it reviewed. You guys know you can always book a resume review session with us, so try to utilize those for as long as you can. Lastly, keep updating your resume regularly, since you guys are, still in uni, you're still you're still actively involved in so many events, so many things that are happening on campus and obviously off campus as well. So try to keep um, adding new information to the resume, as Mariam previously said. try to have a master resume or have a master document of all the things that you've done and see, where you can make some adjustments. Can we move on to the next slide? Okay, lastly, this is your checklist for the year. I'll just go over everything once, although it's quite self-explanatory. First of all, of course, guys, we're here for a reason. Sign up for the activities, the workshops that we market, like the one you guys are in right now. We also offer one-on-one counseling. So if even after this session, if you feel like there are a few misconceptions, there are a few things that you're not clear on, we're literally an appointment away or an office visit away, whichever you prefer. So try to book those. We've also been marketing our alumni mentorship program. I would highly encourage you all to take a look at our social media page as well. There are details about the alumni mentorship program over there. There's a sign up form as well. So through this program, we will connect you guys, match you with a mentor who is working in the industry or field specific to the one that you are going or planning to go into. So that would be a very fun and informative opportunity, I feel like, especially if you're quite clueless about what you're supposed to do after graduation. We also hold mock interviews where we will quite literally interview you and, of course, give you tips on how to improve maybe the way you present yourself, the way you answer questions, stuff like that. Workshops, again, the one that you're doing right now. Resume review, again, we do resume review walk-ins. You can always come into the office and bring your resume. We'll give you feedback. If you don't have a resume yet and you just feel so confused that you don't know where to start, you can still come up to the office and we can, devise some plan on how to begin working on it. Lastly, LinkedIn profile review. I don't know how many of you have LinkedIn accounts or are active over there. LinkedIn is quite literally the one of the easiest ways to get a job in today's world. I feel like with how digitalized we all are, there are literally so many ways to build your network, to know what job openings are currently, happening in your field or in like in the area of expertise that you want to go into. So we'll also help you in refining your LinkedIn profile and optimizing it so that when a recruiter sees it, they are more likely to book you or contact you for an interview. Finalize application materials. Since we are on the topic of resumes, obviously you need to start working on your resume, your LinkedIn. Cover letters, not all jobs require one, but it's always helpful to at least have an idea of what a cover letter is, what a statement of purpose is. A statement of purpose is usually for grad study programs, but I've seen a bunch of internships and jobs sometimes also ask for a statement of purpose. So that's also something that we can help you with if you're completely clueless what these documents are, what you're supposed to add to them. Just bug us. We'll help you with that. Interview answers bank. Again, this is something that you can, I suggest that you always do some research on the role that you're applying for and see what possible questions could be asked in an interview, especially if it's a technical role. That would really help you in preparing, in advance for that interview. And lastly, professional and academic references. Most jobs ask for references, even if it's not for a job. For grad study, you will be needing references. And lastly, of course, this also goes without saying, just start looking for work opportunities. For that, attend the career services office's events. We have our networking sessions, career fairs, recruitment drives, and of course, lastly, look out for our bi-weekly newsletter. We keep posting job opportunities and grad school opportunities in it, and all of the workshops and sessions that we keep holding. And I think that's the last slide. That's it. Thank you so much, guys, for attending. And over to you, Mariam.
Any questions, guys? Yes, Ali.
I had a question. Can we list our society's experience to a leadership position, what we have achieved in the experience part, or should we keep it separate in the extracurriculars part?
No, it should be separate. Just because if you add it in the experiences part, it might give the signal that you're not aware about what professional experiences are, even though the work you're doing is very relevant and sort of the same work you would be doing in an organization. But it just signals the wrong thing. It seems as if you might not be professionally mature. So it should always be separate.
But as a student, as a fresher, what should I specifically mention in the experience? Just the internships?
Yeah. Internships, any experience, TA-ship. If you've done RA-ship, you can mention that. If you're doing something part-time, you can mention that. If you're not sure about what to add, or if you haven't got anything to add, meet with us and we can help you find the right opportunities so that you can add something by the time that you apply. If you I've counseled students who have had no work experience as well. There are ways of crafting a resume if you have zero work experience. So it's nothing to worry about.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Awesome. Any other questions?
I just wanted to ask, can we get these slides emailed or the
Yes, I
recording
think
of?
so. I'll just confirm. But we'll definitely share a guidebook, like
Okay.
a resume guidebook. So keep
And
a
for the
lookout for that in
one-on-ones,
your emails.
sorry, for the one-on-one sessions, is this, do you guys have an office hours or do we have to email you or come directly to the office?
You email cso@lums.edu.pk. You mention whatever you want, resume review, LinkedIn review, even if it's like, I'm confused, I don't know what to do, please meet me. Obviously framed in a more professional way. And you'll be assigned to a career counselor. They'll share a link with you with their office hours. You can also walk in, but everybody's got like meetings and counseling appointments, so it's not guaranteed you'll be able to get an appointment there and then, but you can always come by and we can see. We
Thank
are,
you.
by the way, in OSA. So if you enter from the academic block from the exit gate side, it's opposite LLI.
I
Thank
had a
you.
question. Basically, if we're applying for creative jobs, in that case, where do we attach our portfolios? Is it within the resume or is it externally added or you know?
If the JD asks you to send it separately, then you can mention it separately, but also in the resume in the title section. So where you added your LinkedIn profile, you can add a link to the portfolio.
Right, thank you.
Is there any specific difference between a resume and a CV?
CV is much longer. Usually organizations want a resume, which is one pager. Very few organizations will specify that they want a CV. CV is usually more relevant for grad study, but it's just more detailed. Like there's no page limit to a CV. CV is also relevant if you're applying for teaching positions, faculty positions, where you've got to add your publications and research work.
I have a question, ma'am.
Yeah.
What if I have to check my CV? Can you do that for me?
Check, like review it.
Exactly.
Yeah. So there was a form that was circulated. You could, I don't know if you've seen it, but if you type in like submit your resume in your Outlook, the email should pop up. If it doesn't, you can always just send your CV to cso@lums.edu.pk. Guys, the career fair is coming up and there's going to be around 200 or so organizations from different sectors coming. I would strongly encourage you to get your resume reviewed and approved and added to our directory before that. So these organizations have internships and they have full-time opportunities. So if you share your resume with us and it's approved and ready, we add it to a folder that gets shared with the recruiting partners. So it's just a way of passive job applications, putting yourself out there. So I really strongly, especially in November, December, and January, I really strongly encourage, well, maybe not January, not November and December. January will be when we're sharing that folder. So do share your resume with us. And let's get it polished up for the recruitment activities that happen in spring.
I have another question.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for your time to guide us all. I have another question regarding my experience. I am currently working at administration department at LUMS.
Mm-hmm.
And what if I have to, and I'm interested regarding the career counseling path. Could you please
Yeah.
guide me in the basics way how to go for it?
Meet me. email CSO at LUMS with this, and then we can have a detailed discussion about how to go about it.
Well, thank you so much for your time, ma'am.
Yeah, no problem.
So I have a
Ruha?
question.
Mhm.
Uh, Can I ask or see you? Hello?
Yeah, I can hear you. What was the question?
Oh, okay. So I'm freshy right now, okay, and I don't have a CV, but I do have these work experiences in the past. Uh, I had
Nice.
I had gap years, and during those gap years, I've done some work, and
Mm-hmm.
I want. Is it fine to have a CV like as a freshie
Of
or
course.
like?
In the summer, you should be doing an internship if you're not doing a summer semester. So it's good to have your resume ready for that. So yeah, definitely.
So I don't have no clue about this, and I missed half of the session as well. So can we have a meeting or some sort of like?
Yeah, email CSO at LUMS with your resume and you'll get assigned. And even if you haven't got a draft ready, we can work with you to build that draft. We have a template. We can share that with you. That's formatted in a way that's ATS friendly and it's according to global best practices. So we can share that with you and make sure that your get you started.
Okay, okay. So we can also like arrange an in-person meeting as well.
Yeah, in person
Okay,
or online, whatever is easy for you. Yeah,
okay. Thank you, thank you.
no problem. Any other questions? Guys, also please fill in the feedback form we shared. We really want to make sure these presentations are helpful. So we want to know if we're doing the right thing and if there's anything to improve. We want to get your feedback. It'll take like 30 seconds. There's only 2 questions. So please do fill it in.
Uh,
Any
where will be the recordings we shared on the YouTube channel?
I don't know if we can share the recording, but although if it can be shared, it'll be added to the YouTube channel. We just have to go through and make sure that there's nothing confidential or whatever the protocols are. So, but otherwise, it'll be on the YouTube channel. There are a bunch of other recordings on the YouTube channel you guys should check out. There was a summer mentorship series. So there were about 20, 30 workshops that were done on a lot of topics the students had demanded. So do check out those recordings as well. There's a YouTube page for LUMS CSO. Any other questions?
Thank you. Thank you for the session. It was an amazing session.
Awesome. Happy to hear. Happy to hear. If there are no other questions, we'll stop. If you think about another question, if you have any queries, if it's beyond resume building as well, we do grad study, we do CSS support, entrepreneurship, whatever you want, just book an appointment and let's make a plan with you. We'll make a plan with you and we'll connect you with the right support service, even if it's not us. So yeah, reach out. Thank you guys for bearing with us. I know we went a little bit over time. Do fill out the feedback form and good luck with, I guess, exams are coming up soon. So best of luck.